Hey everybody, it's Thursday.
It's felt like a really long week despite it being a short week. So, welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And thank you for being here with us this evening.
Yeah.
So, we usually start out with kind of a fishing report and stuff to our local area. And we got to say, right now, our local area is the Wolf River.
Yeah, local area is the Wolf River is right. We've been tooling up and down. You know, we launch out of the Wyawega area, and we've been going from New London to Fremont, just hitting out all the spots, and it's been honestly a little crazy. You know, the water temp's been up and down. You know, it's screamed up and down 20 degrees, been anywhere in between 75 and 58 degrees the last couple weeks.
Well, and so let's recap with that a little bit, because was it 2 weeks ago when we were talking about oh my gosh, the warm up that we got, all of a sudden summer and the heat is here.
Yeah.
And then the week before, it's all of a sudden it's back to chilly. And so the funny thing is, you look at fishing reports and water reports, these just different temperatures everywhere. And you hear some people are saying, oh, handfish, they're spawned out. Some people say oh, they haven't started. And some people are oh, they're doing it now. You know, and it's funny because some of these lakes, some of these rivers, they are all kind of in different places right now.
Yeah, and so today I was out on a lake doing some surveys, and it was 70 degrees. The bluegills and bass were up spawning, getting ready to spawn, and crappies were done. You know, so that was a lake. We haven't seen that quite in the river. It's been going back and forth there. And this last weekend, it was crazy. We get out there, and it was a pretty decent day on Saturday. And
was
then,
it?
Yeah, and then Sunday we were out there, and then all of a sudden these storms pop up out of nowhere that nobody seemed to know.
It was a long weekend.
Yeah, and then Monday you almost died in the boat.
It was so hot. It was all of a sudden 95 degrees. I was not prepared for that.
so yeah, it was a kicky weekend. We got a few fish. We're still finding that in the river the panfish are still up in the flooded timber. We were only seeing water temperatures in that probably 62 range, and for the average, and they're up in the flooded timber yet. But there are some spawned out fish, and the post spawn fish we are finding relating to vertical structure, whether that's a retaining wall or a pylon or a dead tree in a little bit deeper water. You know, anything that's vertical in deeper water, that's where the post spawn fish are sitting. But there's not that many of them. You know, you go through an area and pick out one or two, and that's about all you get for an hour.
Well, and one of the things that was really interesting to experience is, Josh and I, we follow the fish and we kind of follow those water temperatures, and, we visit the river almost every weekend, and so we can do that. But it's funny, you see a lot of people who are visiting the Wolf River. There's a lot of tourism that comes to the area, and you see a lot of anglers fishing their memories. Oh, it's Memorial Weekend, here's where they normally are. And, you see a lot of people in those spots where you think fish otherwise, and it's not that the year is different, I guess just these few weeks have been a little bit crazy, but just if you are going to your fishing spots that are normally hitting at this time of the year, don't panic if fish are not there.
Well, and who's to say this last week, it's been a beautiful week since Monday. Monday was super hot, and then it's been beautiful around us, low to mid 70s. It's sunny, and that sun really heats up the water, so I'm sure that river is starting to get up there, and things will start rolling in the correct direction. We're going to have a little bit of a cool down this weekend, so we get to fish another. But, it is what it is.
Well, and like you were saying, this past weekend, we got that surprise rain, and that honestly, the day was cooler than I thought it was going to be, so that was kind of crazy. But as long as I know what to prepare for it this coming weekend, hey, I've got an insulated down-grade suit. So I like wearing that thing. I don't mind fishing in the rain. So yeah, we'll see. Boat launches won't be as busy. The river won't be as busy.
We'll see. Yeah.
Look at Josh's face. He's we're not going to the river this weekend, but we.
You're saying that it's not going to be as busy, but for those of you that don't know, it's free fishing weekend in Wisconsin. So tell everybody
Okay.
that you know that doesn't have a license to bring them all out fishing because it's a great weekend for it. It's going to be cool, but it won't be cold, and you'll have it. There should be some decent fishing, whether it's from a boat, shore, dock. Get out there, go get some fishing done. Just know that Emily's gonna give you the stare down if you're filling up her boat launches because she wants to get the boat out. But no, we'll make sure if we see you, I think we're gonna try some lakes this weekend. See if we can find some warmer water, and if we see you at the boat launch, say hi.
That's for sure, because ultimately that is the goal: is to spread community, spread the love of fishing, and all of what's out there. I mean, if it's your local lake, someplace small and local, if it's the river, I mean, those are all different places. You just gotta love them all. So, one way that you can spread the love of fishing, that is what our guest is doing tonight. So let's bring him in. Ted, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. So for people who don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm obviously my name's Ted Gebhardt. I am associated with Hero Fishing. It's obviously not my everyday job. What Hero Fishing is it's a nonprofit. But with that being said, I am a fisherman myself. I have a vast goal of trying to hit 100 days out on the water or on the streams. So a little bit about me. I primarily do ice fishing or fly fishing. So I think I was out the first week after ice off down here in Milwaukee, and I have fished about every weekend since then. So with that being said, I grew up fishing both spin and fly. My 8th grade graduation gift was a fly rod. Ironically, everyone my age was excited about getting their cell phones at the age of, 14, 15 years old. And I was excited about my fly rod because I knew the opportunities that it was going to bring. Since that time, I have expanded my fly rod arsenal to probably 4 or 5, and my ice rod arsenal to 50 plus. And I think I have one spinning rod that I pull out once every few years just to be able to throw a bobber at a worm for a little kid. But you know what? It's still fishing. So what I do at Hero Fishing a little bit is program coordinator for ice fishing and fly fishing. So, I'm trying to get out fishing as much as I can, and enjoying the nature that we have around us.
And so anybody that might be unfamiliar with Hero Fishing, can you tell us a little bit about the organization?
Yeah, so it's a very cool organization. I was actually approached by the president 2 years ago, and when he started to talk about it, I was kind of my jaw hit the floor because I thought it was a very cool thing that Hero Fishing is trying to do. And what they do is they promote fishing to get people outdoors. It started from the president's father, who was a war veteran, and when he retired, he spent his time fishing. And if he saw people on the dock fishing, or he had friends that wanted to go fish, but they didn't have the ability to get out of the water, he would invite them out onto his boat, take them out, spend the time, get them interested in it, allow them to have the fun when they might not normally have that. So after his passing, the family wanted to be able to continue that legacy and to be able to treat our heroes. And heroes is, some people say, a broad term, but we look at heroes as anyone that has touched you or is doing something good for you or the community or what have you, that you think deserves an opportunity to be able to go on a trip, get out fishing, and explore the outdoors. So the organization is 100% volunteer based. So all donations that come in are given right back to the heroes. So every year they do an ice fishing trip to Lake Cascade in Idaho. So all the donations that they might get, some of it's going to be divvied up to go there. And the heroes don't have to pay for any of it. So it's a 4-day trip. You flight out there is paid for. Your flight back is paid for. You have a home cooked meal. One night, I believe, we'll go out, and you don't have to bring anything. It's guided, so you have rods there. You have fish finders. It's a ton of fun, and it's a great way to be able to give back to the heroes that are interested in fishing, and it's a trip of a lifetime. Not to mention the possibility of catching that state record 16-inch perch, but one of these days we'll get it. But it's a cool thing. This year we have our trip is going to be January 6th to January 10th. I will let you know, if you look on our social media, we are going to have some updates coming out shortly for some elected nominees. So pretty cool opportunity to see who's going to be joining the trip. It's always fun to kind of keep up to date with that stuff. And going off of the trip, one thing I do want to point out is at Hero Fishing this week, anyone that might be listening to this, we're going to be having a ice rod combo giveaway. What that is it's going to be an ultralight ice fishing rod with a split wind grip, and then it's going to be a Pissy Fun Carbon X 500 reel. The drawing is going to be tomorrow at 8 p.m. and the only qualification is you just have to follow Hero Fishing on Facebook, and that's just searching Hero Fishing, and then also like one of our posts. So like the ice fishing trip to Lake Cascade and follow us, and you're entered to win. So very cool opportunity there. Some other trips that we do through Hero Fishing, since we are kind of based out of Milwaukee, we take a lot of charters on Lake Michigan. So we'll take people out and we'll go fish for any of the big salmon and trout that might be lurking in the depths of Lake Michigan. We do some open water trips as well, whether that be muskie or bass. And then a new venture that we are doing this year is we're doing fly fishing. So I've been working with the president to get a fly fishing 101 course. That is going to be held September 23rd and 24th in Stevens Point. And once again, this is a pretty neat trip because it's an all-inclusive trip. And what this trip is going to entail is it's going to entail classroom training of how to understand streams, maybe a little bit of bug anatomy when it comes to trout fishing on streams. That's going to be the first half of the day on Friday the 23rd, and then the second half of the day is going to be all fly casting. So for all of you that want to get into fly fishing but don't know how to, you can learn how to cast flies, go over the lines and all that stuff, and get you prepared to be able to get out there and fish. Then we'll regroup, hotel and dinner will be paid for, and then the next day we'll wake up and we will be going with a half-day guided trip to fly fish the trout streams around Stevens Point. So, obviously anyone that might be coming is welcome to carpool with us as we drive up there. But if you're planning on staying a little later to be able to enjoy fishing Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning, by all means, you can always meet us up there too. If I could, I would. But we have some very cool stuff. Look out for announcements on our social media. It's probably the easiest way to see kind of what's going on, and what Hero Fishing is doing for the heroes around. So it's a cool opportunity to be a part of, and and something I'm very proud of too.
So it's really cool because like almost all the trips that you listed off are like trip of a lifetime kind of things. You know, like I mean, getting out on Big Water Lake Michigan or getting out on Lake Cascade. I mean, those are things that are really, really tough to do just on your own. Without the right gear. And a lot of times, a lot of that's expensive gear. You know, I mean, so that is really, really great opportunities. So if there are people listening right now and they, you know, have somebody in mind, whether that's themselves or somebody else, like, can you still nominate people? Can you nominate yourself? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so nominations, if you go to our website, obviously you can see it above my head, but it's herofishing.org. And there is right on the website, there is a tab to go to nominate. You can nominate yourself. You know, obviously there's going to be reasons why you think this person is deserving of a nomination. We don't usually recommend nominating yourself, but
yeah, I guess I just more about like if you just like what, because it sounds so fun.
it does sound very fun. It does. You know, we like to be able to give thanks, right? So when you do a nomination, we ask who is nominating and who you are nominating so that when that person's been selected and they receive the notification, that they can go back to the person that nominated them and said, oh, you know, I didn't know you thought I was a hero. Because it's hard to tell some people that, hey, you're my hero. Or, you know, you do such a good job at what you do that you just don't get the recognition. And I want to give you that recognition. So to be able to go back and let that person know that this person nominated them is a cool thing that we like to be able to provide, you know, the people being nominated, as it builds a stronger community, because at the end of the day, we're all in it for the same thing, and that's fun and joy.
That is actually, yeah. Well, that's a really cool concept. I mean, it is hard to tell somebody, you know, reach out to them, you know, say things like that. But, man, that is a really cool way to create community. John P. Holtman, thanks for checking in. Hello to you. You're going coho fishing in the morning? I'm going on that trip with you. Just kidding. I've got to work.
How do I get nominated for that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. But I do love the idea of going to that website and nominating people because that is really cool. As far as you were talking about the fly fishing in Stevens Point, is that something that you are still like? Is that a trip that's full? Is that you're still taking nominations for that? What does that look like?
Yes, we are actively taking nominations for, you know, both trips. I believe the ice fishing trip still is taking nominations. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen the nomination list there. The fly fishing absolutely is. You know, the cool thing, you know, about the state of Wisconsin that most people don't realize is there's so much trout fishing around the state. You know, I love to bass fish. I love to, you know, fish for pike and bluegill and panfish and all that, but I've recently just gotten totally sucked in with the trout fishing, and we have some great waters locally to the state. And if you haven't ever explored it, I would say do, because the cool thing about Wisconsin is we have the driftless area, which most people don't know about, and that's essentially an area of the state where the glaciers did not drift over. And what that has allowed is springs to actively just continually run. So I was out 2 weeks ago around the Viroqua area, and I was in 34-degree water, and it was 80 degrees, something like that. You know, last summer I was out there when we had the hot temperatures, and July, August time, water temps were on some of the creeks like 55 to maybe 60 degrees, and you can drive 10 minutes and you're on to the next stream, which is very cool, and something that you might not necessarily get if you're going out to Colorado, Wyoming, or stuff like that. You know, last weekend I was actually fishing out in Minnesota and on some streams down there, and I found out that the only time you can fish on a stream is if there's an easement on the stream. Well, it kind of bums me out because it's a resource that we all have. But the cool thing about Wisconsin is we have what we call a wet foot law or wet feet law. So as long as you have access to the stream and your feet are wet, you can walk up and down it from top to bottom through private property, and you won't have to worry about trespassing. So theoretically, 30,000 miles or something like that of trout streams in the state are accessible. And you can't really say that for a lot of other states. And it's a cool thing to be able to have right here in our backyard.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Like most of my work that I do is with brown and brook trout habitat and streams and stuff. And what another thing that people don't realize is you don't have to use fly fishing gear. It's really fun to be able to do that. But on a lot of these streams, especially the more northern reaches, they get really small. Like you can pull a 20-inch fish out of something that you could probably lay across head to toe and might not even reach your knees for depth. And so like you can use a regular spinning rod, and a 2.5 inch or a 3-inch Rapala and catch a lot of those bigger fish too. So as long as you can find an old pair of tennis shoes and find a culvert crossing, you can catch trout.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Some of the fish that I've seen people catch out in the streams in Wisconsin are crazy. And I would say half of the people that I run into fishing out on the west side of the state, half of them are conventional and half of them are fly fishermen.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a connotation with regards to fly fishermen looking down on, conventional people. At the end of the day, I don't understand some of that stuff. I just think it's cool to see other people exploring it, and you can use what you use for bass, just a little bit smaller maybe, on all these trout, and it's a great resource to be able to have fun with.
Yeah, and also it goes the same way for fly fishing equipment. So once you learn kind of some of the basics and stuff for those of you that hang out with us quite regularly, we talk a lot about panfish, and there's a lot of crossover between trout fishing and pan fishing with a fly rod. You usually have like a similar weight rod, like a similar power rod. A lot of the baits are pretty similar as far as the insect imitations you're throwing, and and most of the technique is about the same, as far as where you're placing your baits. And so you don't have to put your fly rod away if you are done trout fishing. You can go and you can catch panfish on it all summer long.
Yeah, I think, 2 years ago I was using my kayak heavily to go springtime bluegill fishing, and I was literally throwing what I was throwing 2 weeks ago for trout. It was a topwater dry fly as an indicator and a little nymph below, like a little jig essentially, and I was having a ton of fun. There's 2 fish that I haven't caught on a fly rod, and those are 3 fish I should say, but of the 2 most common, the only ones are a muskie and one other that I can't think of right now, and I haven't caught carp. But people go after everything. I listen to a podcast called Wade Out There, which is a fly fishing podcast, and that guy has people all over the U.S. fishing for saltwater, for carp, bass, muskie, all that, and you can fly fish with anything just like you can with conventional, and it's just a matter of using the tools that you have to get out there and explore.
So I'm kind of laughing to myself because, you clearly are a fly fisherman and you clearly know a lot more about trout than I do. But that's the thing is we do have this gem of a resource here in Wisconsin, and other places have hints of it. Pat's checking in, talking about Missouri. That's super awesome that you can identify. But like somebody like me, I don't necessarily have that background. So I mean, I'm hearing like, oh, you just got to find a culvert. Oh, it's just as easy as finding a stream. I mean, like, so then what is it that keeps people from getting out there and trying for trout? I mean, I just feel like there is such an untapped resource that people aren't really into yet.
I think a lot of it comes to scared. Obviously I've been fly fishing for years now. And I remember specifically I was driving with my grandpa down to Iowa he bought a new dog, and obviously we'd gone through Madison, down through Platteville, down that way. And it was, as we were driving down there, he's like, oh, this is such a beautiful area. And I'm kind of like looking over all the bluffs going, oh man, there's probably fish down there. And I'm like, I got to make my way to the driftless area and go fly fishing for trout. And that was probably 7, 8, 9 years ago. And it wasn't until last year that I made my first trip. And quite frankly, the reason why I made my first trip was my wife had her bachelorette party in Minnesota, and one of the ladies there, her boyfriend was a big trout fisherman. So I'm like, great, this is my way in to get into trout fishing. So I asked him to go take me to Minnesota to go trout fishing, and I think within 10 minutes I said to myself, I'm addicted to this. And I think since then I've been out there at least in Minnesota or Wisconsin driftless area 10 times. And I've fallen in love with it. The other thing is it's a big area. Like, how do you even start? Right. And that was where I kind of was too. And I made an exploratory trip out there with my wife. She's not a big fisher. She doesn't really fish at all. I think she fishes once a year, and that's free fishing weekend in the wintertime, where she can sit in the camper or in the shack with the heater cranked. But we made an exploratory trip out there. I think we were out there for all 24 hours. But it's a lot of research, and the nice thing is Wisconsin has so many resources to figure it out. So when it comes to trout fishing, there is an app called Trout Routes, which I use. But I just recently got on that. Previous to that, Wisconsin DNR's website is really good. They have what they call the Trout Viewer, and you can see all the trout streams in the state of Wisconsin, what classification they are. What classification kind of means is Class 1 is naturally reproducing, Class 2 needs a little bit of work, and Class 3 is it's not self-sustaining at all. Obviously, you can go to a Class 3 stream and find naturally reproducing trout. It's just a matter on how they're surveying and all that. But what I do is I look on the website for a trout stream, and then from there's another link on their website where you can search the stream and you can figure out all the survey information, all of the structural information, more or less, and you can kind of get an idea as to what that's going to be like. And then after that, I go to Google Maps and I start looking for access points. So those are bridges, culverts, DNR parks, anywhere there's easements. So a homeowner might have an easement on their property, which might funnel from the road to the stream. And then from there, once you're in the stream, you can go up, down, whatever way. So for me to figure out a new stream, I usually probably put in about 5 hours of research time, just trying to figure it out, looking at different ideas and kind of going back and forth. And usually it always pans out because some of those smaller creeks that people aren't paying attention to are the ones that you have by yourself. So if I have any recommendation, it's just going out there doing it. If you're going out to Viroqua area, there's a fly shop. You can be conventional or fly fisherman. Stop in the shop over there and ask them. That's what I did the first time, and they put me on. They told me about 3 great streams, and one of the streams, I think I caught 50 fish in a half a day. Nothing big, but it was still catching fish, still having fun. So you use your resources. I know if you go to, if you're in the Stevens Point area, Fall Line Outfitters, they're really good about what streams they have there. Milwaukee area, if you talk to the Fly Fishers, which is out in Brookfield, they have a great resource there as well. So it's just a matter of going out there, talking to people, and going out and fishing.
The other thing that I feel like I have to ask is, I only see so much on social media about trout, but there is like a huge following about the way that like trout are treated. So is this one of those conservation efforts where you do really have to be careful with that fish?
Yeah, trout like to be in cold water. They're a cold water fish. So generally speaking, you like, at least I kind of go by the motto of anything over 65-degree water temperature, don't fish them. They're going to get stressed out. I was listening to, I think, a podcast, and one of the guys related it hot water to like hypothermia for us. They're cold blooded, we're warm blooded, and too hot of temperatures, they can't breathe, they don't think, and they just have a really hard time of coming back to life. The other thing that people are starting to look at is handling the fish. So when you grab the fish, wetting your hands before you grab them to help with their slime coat. There's some things that say that certain nets really hurt the fish, and you can kind of go down that whole wormhole. But as long as you're keeping them in the water whenever you're handling them, I always put the fish in the net, unhook it, and just kind of leave it in the net, take a picture right above the net, put it back in, and then release it, just to keep the most amount of stress off that fish. I would say it's probably like most similar to fishing muskie in the heat of the summertime, where they're very temperamental and you just try not to fish for them. I'm not a muskie fisherman, so I don't really know a whole lot, but based off of some coworkers and what other people have said, it seems very similar.
Yeah. I mean, the wetting your hands when you're handling fish should probably be practiced for almost every fish, but trout seem to be a little bit more susceptible to some of the infections that they can get with the loss of the slime coat. I handle probably 1,000 trout a season, just doing my electroshocking surveys and whatnot. And like you said, as long as you keep them in the water and you get them back and going down the stream, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I guess kind of jumping topics, but I do have to say that, it's fun to hear you talk about the trout fishing and all that, because that's perfect for the spring, the summer, the fall, when it's hot out and you can walk through the streams. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it also is cool that you're like an ice fisherman, so you have no off season.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of trout fishermen that say that the wintertime is the best time to go trout fishing, but I'm not really trying to deal with frozen up guides on trout. I only got into ice fishing maybe 4 years ago, and once I got into it, I dove head over heels on it, and if I could, I would fish every day in the wintertime, because there's something fun about sitting over a hole and pulling a fish up through the hole. I don't know why, but it's a ton of fun, and it's a kind of a camaraderie type of thing, where everyone's hanging out, and it's that excitement. I don't have a boat, so for me, fishing the lakes in the wintertime gives me a little bit more access. I could have a boat if I wanted to, but I don't really feel like dealing with the hassle of putting it in and taking it out and all that stuff. So I don't know why I love ice fishing, but I'll probably ice fish until I can't, or until I'm annoyed with the cold. And at that point, I'm probably moving south to go fishing in saltwater. But yeah, I'll be an ice fisherman as long as I can because it's a ton of fun.
That's funny to me that you're not even fishing for trout. So what do you fish for in ice?
Panfish, walleye, bass, kind of the gamut. So I try to make a trip every single year to in the wintertime to hit Pete and Well. Early ice, I'm usually hitting Winnebago, and then I will fish local lakes. So I'll do like the Northern Kettles. I'll do Lake Country area. One goal I want to do is go out to the Mississippi and go for some perch out there. I would like to do Gogebic. I laugh because my wife's family's from Rochester, and when they found out that I was a fisherman, one of the first things they said is, "We live in Olmsted County, which is the only county that doesn't have a natural lake in Minnesota." So I try to find any way to fish in Minnesota when I go up there, but I'm sure I'll end up going up to all the big lakes up there, Lake of the Woods. I one goal in my life was to fish in every single state for some sort of fish. So I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, it's still worth a try. I'm young. So.
I love that idea though, because one of the things I joke about sometimes is, especially during ice season, we talk about like, I wonder how many of the states you could ice fish in.
It would be interesting to try that.
Yeah.
And what variety of fish are you going to have across all those?
Doesn't matter. Just as long as you're on ice. I imagine you couldn't do like Texas, but there's a lot of places like with mountains that does freeze over. I don't know. Obviously not Texas, but
yeah, I know some people that ice fish out in Colorado. Some people that ice fish out in Montana. Obviously, the further south you go in the ice belt, the more risky people get on the ice.
Yeah.
Just because when they only have 4 inches in a year, they're going to take advantage of as thin of ice as they can. But yeah, no, it's I like to fish.
We don't live there.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Well, the nice thing about that is at least if there's only if your weather is only cold enough to make 4 inches of ice, at least you can warm up pretty quick, I would guess. When it's only 30 degrees out, not negative 30 degrees out.
Exactly.
Well, and I guess, for those places that don't get much ice at all, then they get like sometimes double panfish spawn or like giant crappies. Think about those crappies down south. I don't know.
Wasn't there a big crappie pulled out of like Texas or something like that a year or two that was like 5 pounds or something?
Yeah, we're Tennessee, the Kalen's one. We just saw him in Missouri.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I would have to look up where he was from though. That is a giant fish.
Yeah, that would be a fish of a lifetime.
We were just at the Bass Pro Shop World Fishing Fair. It was a fun event. It was in March. But Josh was saying, the Kalen's guy, because he is on the staff for Kalen's now, and so they had a booth there. They had the replica. Was it a replica or was it the mount? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they had like the fish like there.
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I guess the guy who got the state record for Idaho on the perch is from Wisconsin.
Oh, that's cool.
I think either him or his father, Finicky Fuller.
Oh
my gosh!
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was like 16 and a quarter and like 3 pounds.
Oh my!
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that is cool because we like those Finicky Fuller guys. I like those.
I haven't ran into him. I'm sure I will some point.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So I guess as we are thinking about all these different trips and everything, and can you remind us where people can nominate people for a trip?
Yeah, so if you go to herofishing.org And on the website, there's going to be a tab up at the top where it says like nominate, about, all this other stuff. If you click the nominate tab, then you will be able to nominate who you would like for the trips, and it should be pretty laid out with all the information right there for you.
And then if people are looking again for the information on, what is upcoming, is there a schedule there? Or can you remind us what those things are?
Yes, there is also an events tab, so you can scroll through. I think there's previous events or events that are coming up just about now and going forward. As I mentioned, the Fly Fishing 101 course has not technically gone live yet, so it's not on our website. We should be having an announcement here on social media shortly. As soon as that's launched on our social media, then you'll probably see the events, it up in the events. I think we're going next weekend to finalize all the information on that one. So you should be seeing that one pretty soon as well.
And then the other thing is, can you remind us of, what your social media is? Because then I think you said that you were also running a giveaway.
Yes. So our Facebook is Hero Fishing. And then our Instagram is going to be Hero Fishing USA. So if you like and follow us, then you'll be elected into, or you'll be put into a ice rod combo giveaway, which will be aired tomorrow at 8 p.m. And the rod is a custom ultralight rod with a split wind grip, and the reel for that is going to be a Piscifun Carbon X 500.
That is super awesome.
Yeah.
And in case there is anybody who's watching this just after we're finishing up, because I know a lot of you do come and replay this, you're talking about tomorrow is the giveaway. So that is actually going to be Friday, June 3rd. So if you're tuning in time, make sure to get your like and follow in, because that would be awesome to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess with that, thanks for being here tonight and sharing all this stuff with us.
Thank you for having me. I love talking fishing. I could talk for hours.
And to the people at home, thank you guys for being here as well, because that is always a big part of the fun. And hopefully we will see you guys on tomorrow's live when they're giving out those rods, or we'll see you on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.